Hello and welcome back to my channel, The Flute Nerd. This video marks my very first edition of my FAFSK. Maybe I need a better name. FAFSK. Frequently asked flutey questions. In this series, I'm going to address some questions I get asked quite often, either in my lessons or online. So let's jump in. So today's question is, do other students struggle with this? I'm always fascinated when this question comes up because it does come up a lot. My gut reaction is to lecture my students on the pitfalls of comparing ourselves to others. It is a musician's disease. We are terrible at it. We just can't help ourselves. Listening to other musicians is a valuable part of our learning process. But if we're constantly filling our ears with the recordings of amazing flute players, it can be pretty easy to see where we fall short in our own practice, and comparisons are inevitable. But it can be easy to step back from that ledge of comparison when we remind ourselves that the musicians that we're listening to, so the ones who are in famous orchestras or who have record deals, they're not good musicians. They are exceptional musicians. So when I get asked this particular question, I start to worry that my students are swapping that anxiety of comparing themselves to professional musicians to something that seems a little bit more reasonable, comparing themselves to their peers. And this is way worse. Your peers are often not professionals, so it can be really hard to see how silly it is to compare yourself to them. If a flute student feels like they're lagging behind the others, it can be debilitating to their self-confidence. But the more I sit with this question, the more I think it's really important to understand where it's coming from. Or in other words, what you hope the answer will be if you ask this question. Do you hope the answer will be, yeah, way more than you do? Or, yeah, everyone does. So let's have a look at why these different answers hint at something that's a little bit more than about comparing yourself to others. There are some students who ask this question hoping to get an answer that tells them that they're at the top of the pack. Yes, even more than you. For students who ask the question hoping for this kind of answer, there's a need for them to know where they rank among the other students. On face value, it feels a little bit competitive, a wanting to know that they're at the top of the class. But as someone who used to ask this question all the time myself, I now know that what this really is hinting at is a need for validation, wanting reassurances that we're doing well, that we're not just wasting our time. So here's the bad news. The truthful answer to this question is some. Some do, some don't. But that answer doesn't give you validation. It doesn't help you figure out where you stand in comparison to everyone else. It doesn't tell you whether you're doing well or if you are wasting your time and should just give up. But here's the good news. Everyone's journey is different. I'm going to repeat that. Everyone's journey is different, and that's okay. Just because somebody doesn't struggle with the same things as you doesn't mean they're better than you. Chances are that they're struggling with something else entirely. We all have weaknesses and we all have strengths. And this is a glorious thing. It's why we can listen to the same piece of music played by different musicians and always feel like we're hearing something new. Those strengths and weaknesses are what make us singular musicians. They help us find our unique musical voice. And as a little side note, I would only ever tell somebody, stop wasting your time with the flute if you stopped enjoying it. It is never a waste of time to do something you enjoy. And if you're enjoying it, you're getting better, I promise. Thinking about the second group of people who asked this question, hoping for an answer along the lines of, yeah, everyone does, I'm reminded of an old flatmate of mine. When I would come home from work, she would always ask how my day was. And if I happened to say something like, awful, what a crap day, she would always respond with, if it makes you feel any better, my day was crap too. Why would that make me feel any better? Why would I want us both having bad days? It actually took me a while to realize what was going on. We offer others help in the way we wish to receive it. She was somebody who needed to feel supported, to know that she wasn't alone. So if the roles had been reversed and I had told her that I also had a bad day, that was a way of me showing that I understood what she was going through, that we could have bad days in solidarity together. She wasn't alone. So I think there are some students who ask this question in the hopes that they find out that there are others out there who understand their struggle. They're looking for a sense of solidarity. So here's the bad news. Not everyone does struggle with the same things. But here's the good news. That doesn't mean that we can't support each other. We're all in this together. Just because other students don't struggle with the same things that you do doesn't mean that they can't empathize. They can still support you in your learning journey. We've all had our own struggles. We all understand how difficult it can be to learn an instrument like the flute. So if you are someone who asks this question hoping for an answer like, yeah, everyone does, maybe it's time to build your own community. Find your own support network. Join a flute studio with a teacher who really encourages this support among their students. Join a flute choir of other like-minded flute players. Or find a flute community group on social media. There are plenty of them out there, and some of them are so incredibly supportive. And just remember that you're not alone in your learning. We're all here for you. So if this is a question that you found yourself asking in your own studies, I hope that these answers have given you a little bit of something to think about. And if you have any other questions that you would like me to answer, please comment below and I will try to get to them. And in the meantime, please don't forget to subscribe to the channel to make sure you get the latest notifications of new videos. Happy fluting!